The rain fell in relentless sheets, turning the world into a blurred watercolor of gray and misery. Elena Ramirez clutched her swollen belly with one hand and her single suitcase with the other, standing on the slick marble steps of the sprawling estate she'd called home for 5 years. Her husband, Marcus Ramirez, the man who'd vowed eternal love under a canopy of stars in their whirlwind wedding, had just slammed the door in her face. His words echoed in her mind like thunder. "It's over, Elena. I've found someone who understands me. Someone without complications." Complications. That's what he'd called their unborn child, the miracle they'd fought for through 2 years of fertility treatments, endless doctor visits, and whispered prayers in the dead of night. But now, with his mistress, Sophia Lang, smirking from the foyer window, Marcus had reduced their family to an inconvenience. The eviction papers, served by his slick lawyer that morning, fluttered in the wind, now sodden and illegible on the pavement. Elena's fingers trembled as they brushed against the sealed envelope in her coat pocket. It had arrived by certified mail that very morning from an attorney she'd never heard of, representing the estate of a woman named Isabella Voss. Elena had no family, no parents, no siblings, just the foster system that had spit her out at 18. Who was Isabella Voss, and why would her estate contact a nobody like Elena? But with her world crumbling, she hadn't opened it. One catastrophe at a time. Her phone buzzed, a text from Sophia. A photo of her lounging on Elena's king-sized bed, Marcus's arm draped possessively around her waist. The caption, "Thanks for breaking him in. I'll handle the upgrades from here." Elena's stomach twisted, not from pregnancy nausea, but from the raw cruelty. She screenshot it, a grim reminder of the depths people could sink to. Then, with no other options, she dragged her suitcase toward the bus stop, aiming for the nearest motel she could afford with her meager savings from her part-time graphic design job. The motel room was dingy, with peeling wallpaper and a musty smell that clung to everything. Elena changed into dry clothes, her reflection in the cracked mirror showing a 27-year-old woman who looked a decade older, eyes hollow, skin ashen, hair matted from the rain. She sank onto the bed, finally pulling out the envelope. Her hands shook as she tore it open. "Dear Ms. Elena Ramirez, née Elena Maria Voss, we represent the estate of your paternal grandmother, Isabella Voss, who passed away on November 2nd. As her sole surviving heir, you are entitled to inherit her complete estate, valued at approximately $120 billion. This includes Voss Global Properties, a portfolio encompassing 1,200 commercial, residential, and industrial holdings across 20 countries, as well as diversified investments in technology, energy, and philanthropy trusts. This revelation may shock you. Your grandmother searched for you since your father's disappearance in 2001. Privacy laws in the foster system delayed contact until your records became accessible post-18. Your marriage license provided the final confirmation. Isabella instructed that you not be contacted until her passing. She believed character is built through independence and adversity. Please contact our office immediately to initiate the inheritance process. Time-sensitive matters require your attention." Her final message, "Voss women rise from shadows. You've endured the dark. Now claim the light. Sincerely, Dr. Alexander Voss, Senior Partner. Voss and Associates." Elena read it 4 times, her mind reeling. $120 billion? Voss Global Properties? She'd heard of them, the conglomerate that owned half the skyscrapers in major cities, luxury resorts, and even tech hubs. Isabella Voss was a legend, a self-made billionaire who started with a single rundown warehouse in the 1950s and built an empire that rivaled nations. But her grandmother? Elena's father had vanished when she was 5, leaving her mother to die of a broken heart 2 years later. Foster care had erased any family ties. Her phone rang, an unknown number with a New York prefix. She answered warily. "Ms. Ramirez? This is Dr. Alexander Voss. I assume you've read our letter. My condolences for your grandmother and for your current predicament." "How do you know about that?" Elena snapped, suspicion cutting through her shock. "Your grandmother employed discreet security for your protection. They've monitored from afar for years. When they saw the eviction this morning, they alerted me. Isabella had protocols for such vulnerabilities. The idea of being watched felt violating, yet oddly comforting. Someone had cared, even invisibly. Why didn't she reach out? Why let me rot in foster homes, scrape through community college, marry a man who... Alexander's voice was measured, empathetic. Isabella believed hardship forges resilience. Revealing herself earlier would have painted a target on you, competitors, opportunists. She protected you by absence, ensuring you developed without her shadow. Elena rubbed her belly, feeling the baby kick, a reminder this wasn't just about her. What now? Come to New York. We have accommodations in Voss Tower, your penthouse, actually. Tomorrow, we process the inheritance. But first, a pressing matter regarding one property. Which one? The Apex Plaza in downtown Los Angeles. It's a mixed-use complex, luxury condos, offices, retail. Your husband's firm, Ramirez Investments, leases the top 3 floors. And Ms. Sophia Lang's residence? The rooftop penthouse, also yours. The words hit like lightning. Elena was their landlord? As of Isabella's death 5 days ago, yes. Leases renewed in 45 days, with clauses allowing termination for ethical breaches. Has Marcus breached anything? Our investigators have dossiers on him since your courtship. Evidence of embezzlement, insider trading, money laundering. Isabella watched to see his true colors. His affair with Ms. Lang? Part of a scheme to siphon client funds. Elena felt a surge, not despair, but power. He knew? She let me marry a criminal. His crimes escalated post-marriage. She wanted you to see him unmasked, to build judgment for leading her empire. Elena paced the motel room, mind shifting from victim to victor. Send a car. I'll be ready in 30. The limo arrived discreetly, whisking her to a private jet. En route, Alexander emailed files, property lists, financials, Marcus's rap sheet. Ramirez Investments was a front for fraud, defrauding retirees and small businesses. Sophia wasn't just a mistress, she was complicit, luring investors with her charm. Voss Tower's penthouse was opulent, panoramic views of Manhattan, minimalist design with priceless art. Alexander, a silver-haired man in his 70s with sharp eyes, greeted her. Welcome home. They sat in the study, contracts sprawling. Isabella's will has clauses. First, assume active control within 45 days, no absentee ownership. Leadership demands presence. Elena nodded, hand on her belly. Second, a moral imperative. When wronged, true power lies in offering redemption over ruin. For Apex Plaza, decide in 45 days, prosecute Marcus and Sophia fully, or offer them a path to atonement, managing a Voss outreach property in a distressed area, repaying debts through community service. The notion of mercy for her betrayers ignited fury. Reward them? After they. Not reward. Transform. Isabella rebuilt lives, not just buildings. She challenges if you can do the same. Elena stared at the city lights, mind racing. Revenge tempted, but the baby stirred, urging legacy over vengeance. Tell me about the outreach properties. Alexander displayed maps, blighted areas in Chicago, New Orleans, Detroit, acquired for revival, awaiting an heir's vision. An idea sparked. What if I offer them a choice? Prison or 5 years revitalizing one site? Modest living, salary tied to restitution for victims. Alexander smiled approvingly. That's Isabella's spirit. The next day, Elena, in a tailored suit from the penthouse closet, entered Voss and Associates' boardroom. Marcus and Sophia sat stunned, summoned under pretense of lease talks. Good morning, Elena said coolly, claiming the head seat. Confused? I'm Elena Voss, heir to Voss Global. I own Apex Plaza, your offices, your home, everything. Marcus paled. This is bullshit. You have no family fortune. Grandmother kept distance for safety. But she documented your crimes, fraud, laundering. Enough for 25 plus years each. Dossiers slid across. Sophia gasped. You can't. We can, Alexander interjected. Ms. Voss decides. Elena laid options: prosecution or redemption, relocate to Chicago's South Side, manage revival, repay victims. Marcus sneered. Insane. We'll fight. Sophia wavered. Prison or poverty? Your choice, Elena said. 72 hours. Leaving, Marcus pleaded. The baby, my rights? You forfeited them, Elena replied. Prove change in 5 years, maybe supervised visits. Maybe. In the elevator, tears came. Alexander comforted. Isabella rebuilt after betrayal. Her husband stole her first deal, left her penniless. She bought it back, offered him janitor work. He refused, died broken. She regretted not forcing growth. The story resonated. Mercy wasn't weakness, it was strategy. 72 hours later, responses split. Sophia chose redemption, Marcus prison, pride over humility. Elena dove into the empire, meetings, site visits, despite pregnancy. Chicago's project obsessed her, abandoned warehouses to community hubs. Sophia arrived humbled, in jeans, managing tenants, contractors. Reports showed gradual change, from entitled to empathetic. Elena's son, Lucas Isabella Voss, born in spring. Holding him, she vowed a legacy of transformation. Months passed. Marcus convicted, 28 years. Letters begged pity, Elena ignored. Sophia's transformation deepened. On a visit, she apologized. I was jealous, cruel. This work, it's real. Elena saw sincerity. Forgiveness? Process, not instant. Years blurred. Empire grew to $150 billion. Chicago thrived. Affordable housing, jobs, hope. At Lucas's 5th birthday, Sophia completed term. Elena offered permanent role. Sophia stayed, proving redemption. But Marcus? Bitterness festered. Parole denied. Victims' justice prevailed. 10 years on, Elena stood in Voss Tower, Lucas reviewing proposals at 10 sharp kind. A call, Sophia promoted to Outreach VP. Ceremony in Chicago. There, stories shared, transformed lives, second chances. Elena reflected, from rain-soaked steps to empire architect. Isabella's lesson: power and uplift, not crush. Yet a shadow, Marcus's release neared. Would he choose change? 10 years had passed since the rain-soaked afternoon when Elena Ramirez stood on the marble steps of her former home, suitcase in hand, pregnant and discarded. The woman who now stood at the panoramic windows of Voss Tower's executive suite on the 92nd floor bore the same dark eyes and determined jaw, but everything else had been refined by time, power, and relentless purpose. At 37, Elena Voss was no longer the frightened graphic designer who'd once scraped by on freelance gigs. She was the chairwoman and CEO of Voss Global Properties, steward of an empire now valued at $180 billion. The portfolio had expanded under her leadership. New acquisitions in emerging tech districts of Singapore and Berlin, sustainable urban developments in Sao Paulo and Cape Town, and a growing network of green energy infrastructure that positioned Voss as a leader in climate-resilient real estate. But wealth was never the measure Elena used. She measured success in transformed skylines and transformed lives. The Chicago South Side project, once a collection of crumbling factories and boarded-up row houses, had become Voss Horizon Village, 1,800 units of mixed-income housing, 3 community health clinics, a vocational training center partnered with local unions, a tech incubator that had already spun out 6 startups, and green spaces that turned former vacant lots into parks where children played without fear. Sophia Lang, no longer the glittering mistress who'd sent taunting photos, had become the executive director of community revitalization for the Midwest region. At 38, her once perfect highlights had given way to natural silver streaks she wore proudly. Her wardrobe shifted from designer gowns to practical blazers over work boots. The woman who once mocked Elena's common background now spent her days negotiating with tenants associations, mentoring at-risk youth, and personally walking the streets to ensure every promise Voss made was kept. Their relationship was never friendship in the conventional sense. It was something rarer and harder: one, mutual respect forged in accountability and time. Sophia still carried the weight of her past actions, Elena still carried the scars. But they had learned to work together because the mission demanded it. Lucas Voss, now 10 years old, sat cross-legged on the thick Persian rug in Elena's office, tablet in hand, reviewing drone footage of the latest phase of Horizon Village. He had his father's sharp features softened by Elena's thoughtful gaze. He looked up. "Mom, the solar array on Building C is only at 87% efficiency. The shading analysis shows we need to trim those maples on the east side by at least 8 feet or reroute the panels." Elena smiled. "You've been talking to the engineering team again. They said I could shadow next week if you approve. You're 10. Grandmother Isabella started reading balance sheets at 9. You told me that." Elena laughed softly. "Touché. Approved. But you wear a hard hat and stay with Mr. Chin, no wandering." Lucas grinned, already texting the lead engineer. The intercom chimed. "Ms. Voss, Dr. Alexander is here with the quarterly outreach report. And there's been a development regarding Mr. Ramirez." Elena's expression tightened only fractionally. "Send him in." Alexander Voss entered, still elegant at 82, though slower now, leaning lightly on an ebony cane. He placed a slim folder on the desk. "Parole hearing for Marcus Ramirez is scheduled in 6 weeks. His attorney has filed a motion citing exceptional rehabilitation and genuine remorse. They're requesting your victim impact statement in support of early release." Elena opened the folder. Inside were recent photos of Marcus in prison programs, teaching financial literacy to inmates, facilitating anger management groups, even earning a paralegal certificate. The accompanying letters from wardens were glowing. She closed the folder. "What does the Victims Coalition say?" "They're split. Some want him to serve the full 28 years. Others believe in second chances, especially since he's paid restitution to 60% of identified victims through prison earnings and asset forfeitures." "And Sophia?" "She's asked to remain neutral publicly. Privately, she believes he's performing remorse rather than feeling it. She says the Marcus she knew never admitted fault without an angle." Elena looked at Lucas, who had paused his video to listen. He met her eyes steadily. "Mom, if he gets out early, does that mean I might have to see him?" "No one is forcing anything, sweetheart. You're almost 11. When you're ready to decide about contact or no contact, that will always be your choice. Not mine, not a judge's, not his." Lucas nodded slowly. "I read his last letter. The one from 3 years ago. He still calls it circumstances beyond his control. He still blames you for turning the family against him. That's not remorse. That's deflection." Elena's heart ached at how clearly her son saw through the manipulation she'd once missed for years. "Exactly," she said quietly. "Words are cheap. Consistent behavior over years is expensive and telling." Alexander cleared his throat. "There's more. He's requested a private meeting with you before the hearing. Claims he has information about a former business associate who's now targeting Voss properties for leveraged buyouts." Elena raised an eyebrow. "Blackmail dressed as helpfulness? Possibly. Or possibly genuine. His former partner, Victor Kane, has been quietly acquiring stakes in several Voss competitors. If Kane moves on us, it could trigger a hostile bid war." Elena stood, walking to the window. Below, Manhattan pulsed with life. People who had no idea how many invisible threads of power and money connected their daily existence to decisions made in rooms like this one. "Tell his attorney I'll consider a meeting. Neutral ground. Security present. And I want full transparency on any information he claims to have. No games." Alexander nodded. "Understood." As he left, Lucas came to stand beside her. At 10, he was already nearly to her shoulder. "Mom, do you ever wish you'd just sent Sophia to prison too? And Dad?" Elena placed a hand on his head. "Every day for the first 2 years, yes. Then I started seeing what Sophia became. The community she helped rebuild. The kids she mentored who now have college scholarships. I realized punishing her would have felt good for a while, but building something better with her felt right forever." Lucas was quiet for a long moment. "I think I'd like to meet her again. Not as the bad lady from before. As who she is now. We can arrange that. She's actually flying in next week for the Horizon Village 10th anniversary celebration." She's been asked to give the keynote. Lucas's eyes lit up. Can I introduce the speaker? Elena laughed. You want to be on stage in front of 5,000 people? I've done school presentations. This is just bigger. Approved. But we practice the introduction until it's perfect. The 10th anniversary gala for Horizon Village was held under a massive tent on what had once been the largest vacant lot in the South Side. String lights crisscrossed overhead. Tables groaned with food from local vendors. A stage stood at one end. Behind it, a 3-story mural depicted the neighborhood's journey from decay to renewal. Sophia waited backstage in a simple navy dress, nerves visible in the way she twisted her bracelet. Elena approached. You ready? I've spoken to crowds before. But this is different. These are the people who trusted me when they had every reason not to. Elena placed a hand on her arm. They're here because you earned it. Not because of me. Because of you. Lucas appeared, wearing a tailored blazer that made him look far older than 10. They're ready for the introduction. Sophia knelt to his level. You sure you want to do this? Big stage. Big lights. Lucas met her eyes. I want them to know who you really are, not who you were. Sophia's eyes glistened. Thank you, Lucas. He walked on stage alone. The crowd hushed. Good evening. My name is Lucas Voss. 10 years ago, this place was empty. People were scared. Businesses were gone. Then my mom gave someone a chance to make it better. Not because it was easy, but because she believed people could change if they really wanted to. That person is Sophia Lang. She didn't just manage buildings. She listened. She fought for us. She stayed when it was hard. Tonight she's going to tell you what she learned. Please welcome Ms. Sophia Lang. The applause was thunderous. Sophia stepped to the podium, visibly moved. I stand here tonight not as someone who deserves this honor, but as someone who is still trying to earn it. 10 years ago, I was selfish, cruel, and blind. I helped destroy a family. I helped steal from people who trusted me. When Elena Voss had every right to destroy me in return, she did something harder. She offered me a path to become better. I didn't take it because I was noble. I took it because I had no choice left. But somewhere in the hard days, the long nights, the moments when residents looked at me with suspicion and slowly, with achingly slowly, began to trust me. I changed. Not because I wanted forgiveness, but because I finally understood what real power looks like. It isn't in taking. It's in giving back what you stole and more. This community didn't need another luxury tower. It needed someone who believed in it when no one else did. I'm honored to have been that someone. And I'm committed for the rest of my life to being that someone. Thank you, Elena. Thank you, Lucas. Thank you, Horizon Village. You saved me as much as I helped save you. The standing ovation lasted nearly 5 minutes. After the speech, Elena found Sophia near the mural, staring at a section depicting a woman in work boots handing keys to a young family. You okay? Elena asked. Sophia wiped her eyes. I never thought I'd live long enough to see this. To feel clean. You're not clean, Elena said gently. None of us are. We're just trying to do more good than harm from here on. Sophia nodded. Marcus's parole hearing. Are you going? I haven't decided. Part of me wants closure. Part of me knows he'll try to manipulate it. If you go, will you let me know what he says? Elena studied her. Why? Because I spent years with him. I know his tells. If he's genuine, I'll see it. If he's playing, I'll see that too. Elena considered. I'll think about it. 3 weeks later, Elena sat in a private conference room at a federal courthouse in upstate New York. Security lined the walls. Marcus Ramirez entered in a gray suit that hung loosely on his frame. Prison had aged him gray at the temples, lines etched deep around his eyes. But the calculating look was still there. Thank you for seeing me, he began, voice low. Elena remained seated. You said you had information about Victor Kane. Marcus nodded. He's been buying up distressed debt tied to Voss's international portfolio. Specifically, the Berlin Tech campus bonds. If he calls them in at once, it triggers a cascade. He's positioning for a hostile takeover bid through a shell consortium. Elena's expression didn't change. And you know this how? I still have contacts. People owe me favors. Or fear me. Either works. What do you want in exchange? Marcus leaned forward. A letter to the parole board. Just saying you believe in rehabilitation. That you've seen change in others and believe I'm capable of it too. Elena studied him. You want me to lie for you? I want you to give me the same chance you gave Sophia. Sophia earned it. Day after day. Year after year. You've written letters blaming me for your situation. You've never once acknowledged, publicly or privately, the damage you did to your victims. To me. To our son. Marcus's jaw tightened. I was angry. I'm not anymore. Anger isn't the problem. Accountability is. Silence stretched. Finally, Marcus spoke. If I give you everything I know about Kane, bank accounts, intermediaries, timelines, will you at least consider a neutral statement? Not glowing. Just fair. Elena stood. Send the information to Alexander Voss by tomorrow morning. Verified and complete. If it checks out, I'll consider a statement saying you've provided valuable assistance to fraud investigations and appear to be making progress in rehabilitation programs. Nothing more. Marcus exhaled. Thank you. Don't thank me yet, Elena said. If this is another manipulation, the deal dies. And I'll make sure the parole board knows exactly why. She left without looking back. The information arrived at 4:17 a.m. It was comprehensive: dates, account numbers, emails, even recorded conversations. Voss's security and legal teams confirmed authenticity within 48 hours. Victor Kane was indeed orchestrating a sophisticated attack. Elena drafted a brief, carefully worded statement. While Mr. Ramirez's past actions caused significant harm to myself, our child, and numerous victims, he has recently provided material assistance in identifying and disrupting a credible threat to public financial interests. His participation in prison rehabilitation programs appears consistent. I take no position on the appropriate length of sentence, but believe the parole board should weigh this cooperation in their decision. She sent it. The parole board granted early release, 8 years served of 28. Marcus walked out of prison on a crisp autumn morning. No fanfare. No press. Just a gray sky and a waiting car arranged by his attorney. Elena did not meet him, but she did allow supervised video calls once a month, monitored by a Voss family liaison. Lucas chose when and if to speak. For the first 6 months, he chose silence. On the 7th month, Lucas asked for a call. Marcus appeared on screen looking nervous, hopeful. Hey, kid. Lucas sat straight. Hi. Silence. I read about Horizon Village, Marcus said. Looks amazing. It is, Lucas replied. Sophia runs it now. She's different. She actually cares. Marcus winced. I'm glad. Another pause. I don't forgive you, Lucas said quietly. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I'm willing to listen. If you keep doing the work. If you stop making excuses. If you actually change. Marcus's eyes filled. That's more than I deserve. Yeah, Lucas said. It is. The call ended. Elena watched from the doorway, heart full and aching. 15 years after the rain. The empire stood stronger. Communities flourished. Sophia had become family in the strangest, most honest way. Lucas was growing into a leader. And Marcus? He was finally, belatedly, trying. Not everyone changes at the same speed. But some do. And that, Elena realized, was enough to keep building.